Have you ever walked into an airport thinking everything is normal, but then suddenly you feel like something is wrong? Like there's a tiny invisible shift in the air that makes your stomach twist a little, and you can't really explain why. Because that's exactly what happened to me the first time I saw this strange new screening method that nobody was talking about. And honestly, the way it caught me off guard still freaks me out a bit. And I can't stop thinking about how so many travelers around the world are about to experience the same shock without having the slightest clue what's actually happening behind the scenes. And the weirdest part is that this method doesn't look like anything official. Nothing like the TSA lines we're used to. Nothing like those body scanners that make you raise your arms like you're surrendering. And honestly, nothing like any security check I've ever seen in all my years of traveling. Which is insane, because airports are usually super predictable. You know where to stand, what to take off, what to put in the tray, all that. But this was different. And the difference hit me before I even reached the actual checkpoint. Because something about the vibe was off. Like the security staff knew something that passengers didn't. And trust me, you can feel that energy in the room, even if nobody says a word. And at first I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe they were just stressed or understaffed or whatever. But then I noticed this one officer standing at a distance, not checking boarding passes, not guiding people, not scanning anything, just watching the crowd with this laser-focused stare, like he was waiting for something extremely specific. And I swear I felt his eyes skim over me like a scanner itself. And for a moment I thought maybe I dropped something, or maybe my bag was open, but no, he wasn't looking at my stuff. He was analyzing me, and not just me, everyone. But in some weird pattern I couldn't understand yet. And that's when I realized something else. The passengers he watched longer were the same ones who later got pulled aside for this new screening thing that doesn't even look like screening. And the craziest part is that the people who got pulled didn't do anything suspicious. They weren't nervous, they weren't sweating, they weren't acting weird, and that's what confused me. Because usually security pulls aside the ones who act fidgety or make mistakes, but these people were completely normal. And the officer would just tap another officer and whisper something so fast you could barely see their lips move. And suddenly, that traveler would be quietly separated. No alarms, no beeps, nothing loud or dramatic. Just a soft redirect, like you're being invited to a different checkout lane at a grocery store. And I'm standing there thinking, what the hell is going on? Why is nobody saying anything? So, naturally, I start paying attention. Almost like I'm trying to solve a mystery. And then I see the weirdest thing, this tiny handheld device that the security staff holds casually. Not the metal detector wand. Not the drug swab machine. Not any gadget I've ever seen before, and this device doesn't beep, doesn't flash, doesn't vibrate, doesn't do anything visible, but every time they passed a traveler, they glanced down at the screen for half a second, almost like it was showing something only they could interpret. And I swear it reminded me of those sci-fi movies where the characters can read your entire personality through a little scanning pad. And I know that sounds dramatic. But when you're standing there in a real airport and you see officers making decisions based on something you can't understand, the fear starts creeping up before you even realize it. And your brain starts overthinking, like, what does it know? What is it reading? Is it scanning sweat, heart rate, micro expressions? Some new AI thing? And that's exactly when the realization hit me. Whatever this new method is, it's not checking your luggage, it's checking you, your reactions, your tiny movements. The stuff you don't even realize your body does when you're in a stressful environment. And I know that sounds crazy, but think about it, airports are already testing AI facial recognition, emotion detection cameras, and behavior analytics in secret pilot programs. And nobody tells passengers about it because they want natural behavior, not staged reactions. So yeah, when I started connecting the dots, everything made sense in the creepiest way possible. Because this new screening method wasn't looking for weapons or liquids or electronics, it was looking for intentions, for impulses, for micro reactions that humans normally can't catch, but machines can catch with brutal accuracy. And when you think about it like that, you suddenly understand why this new method is catching everyone off guard. Because there's nothing to prepare for, nothing to take out of your pockets, nothing to remove from your bag, no rules to follow other than just exist, and if the system decides your reactions aren't predictable enough, you're pulled aside even if you didn't do anything wrong. And what freaked me out the most was that all of this happened silently. Without any announcement, without any official explanation, without even a sign telling you what's going on. And the more I observed, the more I realized that people being redirected didn't know they were being screened differently. They thought it was just a random check or a small delay. But no, they were part of something entirely new. Something that airports have quietly rolled out but haven't announced publicly. And for a moment I honestly wondered if they were testing it on all of us like some kind of real-life experiment. Because the secrecy didn't make sense unless the goal was to observe genuine human behavior under pressure. And then comes the part that really made my heart race. I eventually got selected, and not because I acted strange or nervous, but because the device gave some kind of reading the officers trusted more than their own eyes. So the same officer who had been scanning the crowd earlier walked over to me, nodded politely and said, "Sir, this way please," in the calmest voice possible. And at first I thought maybe it was a random bag check. But then he led me down this short hallway to an area I had never seen in any airport. And I've traveled a lot, so that's saying something. And this area wasn't like the usual secondary screening rooms. It was quiet. Too quiet like sound didn't travel there. And instead of big machines or intimidating equipment, there was just this white-looking curved wall with some kind of soft lighting that felt almost like a dentist office mixed with a futuristic lab. And one officer stood behind a small, podium-like device that looked like a tablet on steroids. And he didn't ask for my passport. Didn't ask me to empty my pockets. Didn't ask me anything. He just told me to stand still and look forward. And a part of me wanted to ask what was happening, but something stopped me. Maybe the atmosphere, or the fact that the officers were acting too normal, too rehearsed, like they had done this 100 times already. And then the strange part begins. Because instead of scanning my body or swabbing my hands or checking my luggage, the curved wall in front of me started showing shapes faint. Blurry shapes that flickered like a heartbeat on a monitor. And I know this sounds bizarre, but I could feel something analyzing me. Not my belongings, not my clothes, but my reactions. And I could hear my own breathing getting faster, which made me feel even more suspicious of myself, like I was guilty of something even though I knew I wasn't. And that's when it clicked. This thing, whatever it was measuring stress spikes. Eye movement, pulse changes, micro sweats, all the stuff humans can't control. And I stood there feeling exposed in a way I've never felt at any security point in my life. And suddenly the officer looked at the device in his hand, nodded once and said, "You're clear." And just like that, it was over. No explanation, no paperwork, no warning, nothing telling me what the hell just happened. And I walked out of that room feeling like I just had a full-on psychological X-ray. And the strangest part is that nobody else in the terminal even knew this room existed. They just saw me walk out from a side hallway and assumed it was some normal secondary check. But the truth is, this new screening method is nothing close to normal. And airports aren't talking about it because they don't want people to panic. And honestly, I don't blame them. Because if the average traveler knew airports were analyzing intentions instead of belongings, the entire travel world would explode, social media would lose its mind, and people would be arguing non-stop about privacy and rights and all kinds of stuff. But here's the twist. After that experience, I started digging, asking questions, watching for subtle changes at other airports. And I realized something huge. This method is spreading quietly, airport by airport, country by country, and they disguise it under pilot programs or behavioral analytics testing. But the real truth is, they're creating a system that can read you better than you can read yourself, and you can't prepare for it. You can't hide from it. You can't cheat it. And that's exactly why so many travelers are going to be blindsided when this becomes mainstream. Because even though nobody is talking about it yet, this is the future of airport security, and it's happening sooner than anyone expects.